In the late 90s, a tiny studio from Madrid made one of the most innovative strategy games ever created. But within a decade, they fumbled that success and slowly lost everything. This is the story of Pyro Studios, the creators of the Commandos series, and how they rose and fell. Pyro Studios was founded in Madrid in 1996 by two brothers, Ignacio and Javier Perez Dorset. Their goal? To create a Spanish studio that could compete on the global stage. The team was small, just 15 people, working tirelessly on their very first project. Among them was Gonzalo Suarez. Suarez's idea was ambitious, a real-time tactics game, and in 1998, Commandos Behind Enemy Lines was born. Set during World War II, the game put players in control of up to 6 elite soldiers, each with unique skills. Your mission? Infiltrate heavily guarded enemy bases across 20 intricate maps and complete your objective without being seen. Commandos became a massive success, a top seller in dozens of countries. It put Pyro Studios and Spanish game development on the world map. Soon after, they released an expansion, Beyond the Call of Duty, featuring 8 new missions and gameplay tweaks. It also sold well, cementing Pyro's reputation as a serious new contender. After their breakthrough, Pyro expanded rapidly. They split into multiple internal teams to tackle several big projects at once. But that growth came with problems, slower development, tighter budgets, and heavy reliance on their publisher, Eidos. Meanwhile, the industry was shifting. Games were moving towards 3D graphics and faster, more action-focused gameplay. That evolution would test Pyro's limits. Their next game, Commandos 2 Men of Courage, released in 2001. It was their first 3D title, bigger, more cinematic, and incredibly detailed. The game performed well on PC but struggled on consoles, and overall it didn't reach the same profitability as the first Commandos. Then in 2003, Pyro released Praetorians, a real-time strategy game set during the rise of Julius Caesar. Unlike other RTS titles, it focused on battlefield tactics instead of base building or resource management. It wasn't a breakout hit, but it sold decently. Still, cracks begin to show. The same year came Commandos 3 Destination Berlin. Pyro wanted it to appeal to a broader audience. Easier, faster, more cinematic, but it backfired. The maps are smaller, the AI weaker, and the writing forgettable. Fans of the series felt betrayed, and when Imperial Glory arrived in 2005, the fatigue was clear. It mixed real-time battles with turn-based empire management, essentially Pyro's take on Total War. But the comparison hurt more than it helped. It lacked the depth and polish of its competitors, and sales were poor. Pyro quietly abandoned the strategy genre soon after, and then came their boldest and worst experiment. By the mid-2000s, Pyro was struggling to find its identity. They decided to abandon their roots, chasing the next big trend instead. And that trend was the first-person shooter genre. In 2006, Commando Strike Force attempted to bring the series into 3D action, but the result was disastrous. The AI was dumb, the graphics were dated, the gameplay lacked the tension that made Commandos great. Long-time fans were furious, and newcomers simply didn't care. It became Pyro's biggest commercial failure, selling under 100,000 copies. When 2008 financial trouble hit hard, the studio cancelled another project, Cops, just as the global financial crisis began. Their final major release came in 2009, Planet 51 the Game, based on the animated movie of the same name. It was a licensed title, and while it looked colorful, it failed to impress critics or players. Sales were modest at best, not enough to save the studio. After that, Pyro merged with Play Wireless and rebranded as Pyro Mobile. They released small mobile titles for a few years, but none of them found real success. By 2017, the company had quietly shut its doors. A year later, Calypso Media acquired their assets and the rights to Commandos. Calypso later re-released Commandos Behind Enemy Lines, its expansion, and Imperial Glory, along with HD remasters of Commandos 2, 3, and Praetorians. Commando Strike Force briefly appeared on Steam before getting removed, and Planet 51 never made it to PC. In 2025, Calypso tried to revive the franchise with Commandos Origins, but despite good intentions, reception was mixed. Pyro may be gone, but their legacy remains.